or she saw her shadow, she got frightened and started running away from the shadow. And when she is running away, the shadow is following her. So she thought that someone is following her. So this is exactly like we believe that the ego is real. Okay. And the other interesting example was again very similar to the ego, was the monkey looking at a reflection in the mirror, and he doesn't recognize himself. He sees and he feels that there is a monkey behind the mirror. So he goes to investigate. He goes behind the mirror, but there's nobody there. He's very surprised, and he comes in front again and sees, oh, there is a monkey behind the mirror. He goes back again and he can't. Several times he does it. This is exactly the thing about the ego also. The ego, we feel it is real, actually it is non-existent, just like the reflection or the shadow. So when Sri Aurobindo says that the ego decides to abolish itself, okay, it's a way of speaking. The ego has no reality. How can it abolish itself? It's a way of speaking. As I told you, in English, you have a very interesting example in poetry. We have what is called transferred epithet. Okay? I gave an example to Sunki. I told her that when you speak of it, let us say his courageous sword. Okay? When you say his courageous sword, okay? The sword is not courageous. The man wielding the sword is the sword is yes. So it's a transferred epithet. Okay, they call it a euphemism. So when you speak about the ego abolishing itself, it's a way of speaking. It's a mind or the soul that says that, oh, what I thought was real is not real. I don't, so I reject it. That's the thing. Okay, so we can start our essay on Gita. Okay, so today we are in the chapter Kurukshetra, and we have to read from all which seems to show. Huh? If you all agree with that.
Rangada.
Okay.
Yes, Rangada.
Yeah. So let's start reading. One of you read, and then we'll discuss the para. We are almost towards the end of the chapter.
Okay, I'm reading Rangada.
Go ahead.
All which seems to show that here is an element in existence, perhaps the initial element, which we do not know how to conquer, either because it cannot be conquered or because we have not looked at it with a strong and impartial gaze, so as to recognize it calmly and fairly and know what it is. We must look existence in the face if our aim is to arrive at a right solution, whatever that solution may be. And to look existence in the face is to look God in the face. But the two cannot be separated, nor the responsibility for the laws of world existence be shifted away from Him who created them or from that which constituted it. Yet, here too we love to palliate and equivocate. We erect a God of love and mercy, a God of good, a God just, righteous, and virtuous according to our own moral conceptions of justice, virtue, and righteousness. And all the rest we say is not He or is not His, but was made by some diabolical power which He suffered for some reason to work out its wicked will, or by some dark Ahriman counterbalancing our gracious almost as or was even the fault of selfish and sinful man who has spoiled what was made originally perfect by God. As if man had created the law of death endeavoring in the animal world, or that tremendous process by which nature creates indeed, and preserves, but in the same step and by the same inextricable action slays and destroys. It is only a few religions which have had the courage to say, without any reserve, like the Indian, that this enigmatic world power is one deity, one trinity, to lift up the image of the force that acts in the world in the figure not only of the beneficent Durga, but of the terrible Kali in her blood-stained dance of destruction, and to say, this too is the mother, this also know to be God, this too, if thou hast the strength, adore. And it is significant that the religion which has had this unflinching honesty and tremendous courage has succeeded in creating a profound and widespread spirituality such as no other can carry. For truth is the foundation of real spirituality, and courage is its soul. Tasya Satyam Ayatanam.
Yeah, fine. So it's this is almost the core of what the whole problem is. He is describing the war and destruction. Just before we start reading each sentence, it's a very interesting paragraph. So, we in our normal condition, we make differences between the dualities, good and bad, okay, black and white, and they are very valid. We keep repeating this thing because it is something so obvious, but we don't see the obvious. Everybody feels that perfection is possible in the physical world. We should eliminate the bad and also take in the good, okay, and it is possible. Everybody feels like that, but the stark and dangerous truth is that that is not possible in the physical level unless you go to the highest, okay, and then bring down that into the lower. Remember the gradation: at the highest level is light, but at the lowest level is darkness, okay. So when that light comes into the darkness, that light itself gets absolutely absorbed by the darkness, okay. One very simple example will show you how that happens. You take a glass of dirty water, okay, it's muddy, and you pour a glass of pure water into it. The pure water is the light, okay. Can you bring that pure water light into the mud of the earth, of the physical world? You can't. When that pure water comes into the muddy water, it becomes part of the muddy water. You don't see that purity anymore anywhere. So this is what is the main problem of divinization of matter. Okay. So is it possible at all? Swayambhu is saying yes, it is possible. How? You have to go to a sufficient level where the pure water has the power to remove the dirt from the physical world. And that is the supermind. And that is what he has been trying his whole life. That was the whole idea. That let us take evolution to the next level where a little more perfection is possible than what is now possible. This is the whole idea of Sri Lanka. It's a revolutionary idea. Everybody has been speaking about evolution. But here he is very clear about what he's saying. So war, we always feel war is something very bad and we should eliminate it. Then Swayambhu says, you cannot eliminate it at the physical level. You have to go to a higher level, get the power, and then only you can do it. This is the basic idea. That's why we have the Advaita philosophy is the only one that has the courage to say that everything is the physical world, even the darkness, even the perversion, even the ignorance is part of divine. Okay? Because there is a gradation from the highest to the lowest. Everything can be explained with, but we have to go into a great amount of detail. But remember, 2-3 things I keep repeating, remember that. When the divine wants to manifest the universe, okay, he wants to, like a poet wants to manifest the poem in his mind, he has to put it down on paper, okay. He has to express it. So when the divine wants to express himself, he creates a universe. But creating of universe, okay, implies giving form to that which is formless. Okay, I keep repeating this, so don't feel bored, because then it becomes fixed in the mind. And form is limitation, isn't it? The poem in the poet's mind, if it is not given expression and given a form, you will never know what that poem is. So manifestation implies form, and form is limitation. And limitation necessarily means imperfection. So you see the stages of each one. You can argue against it, but if you think this way, then you will understand why the divine light becomes darkness in the physical world. The divine consciousness becomes the unconsciousness. Why the subtlest of substance becomes gross substance here. Okay. Why the Shakti, which is absolutely omnipotent at the highest level, becomes here weakness, okay, and lack of power. So keep this in mind. And we have the Advaita philosophy is the only one Swayambhu is saying, has the courage to say that darkness also is God. Okay. Okay. Now we read the paragraph, and it's a very interesting paragraph where there are other theories also, and those theories he is talking of the Zoroastrian philosophy, the Manichaean philosophy. We'll refer to them when we come to it. I'm reading each sentence. Asinath read the thing. I'm reading each sentence. Tell me whether it is clear. And if you want discussion, we'll discuss it. All which seems to show that here is an element in existence, perhaps the initial element, which we do not know or how to conquer, either because it cannot be conquered or because we have not looked at it with a strong and impartial gaze so as to recognize it calmly and fairly and know what it is. It's a very big sentence with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. So those lines are always like that, phrases. So, in other words, he's saying, always seems to show that there is an element in existence. What is this element in existence which is creating this problem? How could the divine have created falsehood and cruelty and perversion? How could he have done that? So, we come to easy solutions. That solution, like the Ahriman and Ormuz, that all that we will discuss. So, you are not looking sufficiently deep, he says, to find the solution. So you go in for very easy solutions. Oh, the divine has created only light, but the darkness has not been created by the divine. It is created by the opposite principle of divine. Then why does he tolerate it? Because he is very tolerant. Okay, he tolerates it. Okay, that's what he's saying. But if you look at a strong and impartial gaze, without judging that light is good and darkness is bad, okay, that if you look at it very strong and impartial gaze, so as to recognize it calmly and fairly and know what it is. What is that element that is creating the opposites in the physical world? Okay, so we must look, now he is saying how to look impartially. We must look existence in the face without flinching. See, this is something that is there even in the human psychology. When we see something cruel, many people can't bear it. Okay, they turn their face away and run away from it. Suppose there is a very cruel thing going on in the road. Okay, many people can't face it and they go away. Okay, it is true even of blood. Okay, there are many people who can't see blood; they faint. Okay, I know of one boy in the ashram who is a very, very talented boy, but he told me himself that when his dog was operated and he saw blood coming out, he fainted. So the weakness is in the vital, but you must have a strong vital which can withstand all this. That which is repulsive to you, you must have the courage to face it. That's what I'm saying. We don't want to face war. Okay? We feel it is bad and we want to get rid of it. But is it possible? That's the question. We must look existence in the face if our aim is to arrive at the right solution, whatever that solution may be. Okay, there. Now, and to look existence in the face is to look God in the face. In other words, he is equating existence with God. You go back to the Advaita philosophy. Everything, Advaita, there is only God and nothing else. Okay, you may see the opposite of God here, but that also is God. So if you look very, very sharply and you impartially, you will see that. And when does that happen? It's a long process of yoga. Okay, so and to look existence in the face is to look God in the face. For the two cannot be separated. What are the two? You can speak of it in many ways. You can speak of light and darkness. You can speak of the opposites in the physical world. You can speak of God and the world. God is perfect and the world seems to be very, very imperfect. Okay? So, for the two cannot be separated. This is the phrase can be summed up in one word, dualities in the physical world. They cannot be separated. We are always trying to separate them. Good and bad are opposites. Light and darkness are opposites. They have nothing to do with each other. So they are insisting that they are connected. They are the basic thing. We have discussed this duality many times. Okay, this duality is a very, very interesting concept, and we have to understand that. So the two cannot be separated. nor the responsibility for the laws of world existence be shifted away from him who have created them, sorry, or from that which constituted it. Okay, we try to save God and say that He has not created all this. Yet, here too, we love to palliate and equivocate. Okay? There are two interesting words: palliate and equivocate. Equivocate, speak in dual. Oh no! God could not have created it. Equivocate is to double talk. Okay, equivocate. We speak of this and that at the same time. That won't do. And palliate. The word palliative is a temporary relief. A medicine that relieves your pain temporarily. The homeopaths say that I'm sorry to disappoint the allopaths, but the homeopaths say that all allopathic drugs are only palliatives. They are not real cures. Anyway, that's another subject altogether. So a palliative is something that temporarily helps you. That's all. So that is what's saying. Now, what is that equivation and palliative? Palliative, same is saying. We erect a God of love. Who is the we? Normal man, not the spiritual man who understands reality. We create a God of love and mercy, a God of good, a God just, righteous, and virtuous, according to our own moral conceptions of justice, virtue, and righteousness. And all the rest we say is not He or is not His, but made by some diabolical power which He suffered for some reason to work out its wicked will, or by some dark Ahriman counterbalancing our gracious Ormuds. This is the in the Zoroastrian philosophy what you have, okay, the Parsis, okay, or who was even the fault of selfish and sinful man.
What is the Zoroastrian policy?
No, the gods of.
Yeah, there are two basic powers, Ahriman and Ormuds.
Ahriman is the dark one.
That's right. And Ormuds is a gracious one. Okay, God and the devil, if you want. Diabolic power, said this. This is not only, even the Manichaean philosophy says that. Okay, even the Christian philosophy is
Christian
always.
and
Yeah, also, that's right. Okay, so God has created the world of light and beauty and truth, and man has spoiled it. Or it was even the fault of selfish and sinful man who has spoiled what was made originally perfect by God. These are all ideas which won't bear examination. Be very careful. And as if man had created the law of death and devouring in the animal world, so how can that be? He is pointing out the wrong argument. Death is something which seems to repulse us. We feel a repulsive reaction towards death. Okay, so has God created death? So, as if man had created the law of death, but death existed even before man came on the planet. Animals were dying before man came on the planet. That's why he's pointing out the illogicality of it. As if man had created the law of death and devouring in the animal world, or the tremendous process by which nature creates indeed and preserves, but in the same state and by the same inextricable action slays and destroys. Both the things are always there together. In the physical world, dualities of every sort exist. To every force that you see in the physical world, there is an opposite and equally valid in the physical world. You can't get rid of it. Okay? That's not possible.
But Rangada, in Hinduism, we have this law of karma. That also is man-made. So when something wrong happens, we always say it is our karma.
Wait. Law of karma is not man-made. Man recognizes the law and formulates it. But the law exists whether man is there or not. Okay?
Law of karma exists.
Yes, of course. It does exist. It is not something man-made, not at all. The causality, everything has got a cause. Okay? this is something that one has to understand also. There is a chain of causality. Okay, this is another thing also which is related again to another question, which very briefly I will mention. There is total liberty only at the highest level. Only God has got total liberty. He is absolutely free. But when that freedom of light and truth starts coming down, I just now told you that it gets limited. Okay, there is limitation, and limitation is imperfection. Therefore, the law of rigidity, which opposes freedom, starts coming into existence. So, at the lowest bottom, total rigidity and total lack of freedom. Okay, so there is a law that operates. Law is the opposite of freedom. You agree?
Yes.
Every law that you make is actually limiting your freedom. Correct?
Oh, okay. Yes.
So, at the lowest level, there is no freedom at all. There is total law. In fact, to such an extent, I told you, think about it. The laws in the physical world are so rigid that today a scientist can tell you 10,000 years afterwards also exactly when a solar eclipse will come. He will be able to tell you when the sun is going to rise tomorrow. Why? Because there is rigidity and laws that operate. He will be able to tell you that Halley's comet comes every 75 years. It comes around the sun in an elliptical orbit, and you will be able to see it after 75 years. So the law of freedom doesn't exist in the physical world. So that is the karma. Okay? Everything has got a cause, and there is a chain of karma. That is the law of causality. It's not man has recognized it. And not only all, not everybody, but it's very clearly. In fact, even in Europe nowadays, they talk of the law of karma. They use the word karma, which did not exist probably in Christianity. It did not. I'm not sure, but they are using the word karma now. Okay, so that means they recognize that it comes from the Indian philosophy. So, Pallu,
Yes.
karma is not man-made. It is a recognition of the law.
I thought it is a palliative action of man to to think that bad things happen because of our karma.
No, not at all. In fact, now it's clear, na?
Yes.
Yeah, the freedom, there's no freedom at all in the physical world. Only your soul is free, but the soul is stuck in the net of body-mind life. So when the soul realizes that it is not body-mind life, in the beginning it identifies it as body-mind life, and therefore you suffer. But when the soul recognizes that it is not body-mind life, and by some hook or crook or yoga or whatever, it has the grace or the effort to escape from this prison, it realizes it is free. Okay, that is the freedom. But the life you to suffer the consequences of causality and karma. That is the reason why, as I told you earlier also, that even an avatar in the physical world, okay, his body is part of the physical world, therefore it is subject to the laws of the physical world. And what that avatar has done in his previous lives, when he was not as perfect as he is now, okay, he will have to suffer the consequences of that past action. So that is the reason why Ramakrishna had cancer, okay, and Raman Maharshi also had cancer, okay. So this is the thing. So there is absolute rigidity of law at the physical level. Okay, so now he is talking of Ormuz and Ariman. This is not believed and subscribed to in the Advaita philosophy. And so, nature creates indeed and preserves, but in the same state and by the same inextricable action, slays and destroys. Nature is constantly creating and destroying, constantly creating and destroying. We feel that creation is very good, but destruction is very bad. Death is impossible to tolerate. In the Life Divine, he has a huge chapter on what is really death. It's a process of life. Okay, it's like you are changing your clothes. No? Every day you are putting on new clothes. But your body, mind, life are clothes. And the laws of the physical world apply to the clothes only, to the body, mind, life. And then when that disappears, you start howling and shouting and saying, oh, death, death. Actually, the soul has not died. It goes on and takes on new clothes. That's all. Okay. This is in the Gita. I think Tarika knows because she has studied the Gita. Okay.
Yeah.
Vasansi Jirnani. Na? That's
Mm.
it. Clothes are
Vasansi Jirna. Yeah, Vasansi Jirnani Yatha Vihaya Navani Grimnath. Yeah.
That's right. Okay. So death is something, it's a shadow of life. It's a process of life. So this one has to understand. Okay, we go to the next. It is only a few religions which have had the courage to say, without any reserve, like the Indian, that the enigmatic world power is one deity, one trinity. Which is the trinity? Satchitananda. Okay? It is one trinity. It's not three. It is one. Okay.
It can be Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh.
Okay, yeah, you can say that also. Okay, these are all concepts which we have to understand in the right context. But normally, when he's talking of Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh are the your personification of these impersonal forces. Satchidananda are impersonal forces. Sat is substance, Chit is consciousness, okay, Chit Shakti is power, and Ananda is bliss. They don't depend on anybody. They are one trinity. To lift up the image of the force that acts in the world in the figure not only of beneficent Durga, but of the terrible Kali in her blood-stained dance of destruction, and to say, this too is the mother, this also know to be God, this too, if thou hast the strength, adore. And it is significant that the religion which has had this unflinching honesty and tremendous courage has succeeded in creating a profound and widespread spirituality such as no other can parallel. For truth is the foundation of real spirituality and courage is its soul. Tasyai satyam ayatanam. The truth is its ayatanam. It's the foundation or the base if you want. Ayatanam actually is the stretching, that which stretches out. Okay, so the truth is the foundation of the physical world. So we come to the last para. So very interesting discussion.
From where is this Tasyai Satyam Ayatanam? From where is this?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. You will have to check. Could it be in the? It's either the Upanishads or the Gita. Tarika, is it in the Gita? Or
no, I'm only asking you.
Okay, we'll have to make a search. Okay. But
and the sentence within quotes also is from somewhere, no? This too is the mother.
No, it's not a quotation. It is Srimada's own quotation. And to say, it's a question of language, no? And to say this too is mother. This you can formulate the question in this way. Okay? And if you have the strength, adore. I don't think it's a quotation from anywhere. It is Srimada's quotation.
Okay.
Okay. So very clearly, in other words, Advaita philosophy. But he's saying it is the line is very interesting, and I wonder what it is. It is only a few religions. Perhaps all the religions are in India only. Okay. The Jain philosophy, does it also say that? Because the Jain philosophy goes up to the impersonal only. Then the Sikh religion, I don't know. But I don't know which other religions say that everything is Advaita, based on Advaita. I think basically Jainism and Sikhism also are Advaitic religions. I'm not sure. It has to be looked at very carefully. Okay, so shall we read the last one? All this. Okay, we spoke of Zoroastrianism, but there is also another one which is Mani. Mani is 300 BC. He was a philosopher in Iran. Okay, Iran is Persia. Okay, and he also said that the physical world is created by the devil. Okay, so Manichaeism Srenda refers to it quite often. It's the philosophy that the physical world is created by the devil and not by the divine, because it is imperfect. So shall we read the last paragraph of the chapter?
Yeah.
You must not, now this last para is very interesting because Srenda seems to justify war and he is speaking in favor of it. But at the same time now he will tell you that he is not at all supporting, but he is explaining its necessity. Okay? So we'll read that.
I'll read.
Yeah, who will read? Archana Di read, so now
I'm
anyone?
reading.
Okay, go ahead.
All this is not to say that strife and destruction are the alpha and omega of existence. That harmony is not greater than war, love more the manifest divine than death, or that we must not move towards the replacement of physical force by soul force, of war by peace, of strife by union, of devouring by love, of egoism by universality, of death by immortal life. God is not only the destroyer, but the friend of creatures, not only the cosmic trinity, but the transcendent. The terrible Kali is also the loving and beneficent mother. The Lord of Kurukshetra is the divine comrade and charioteer, the attractor of beings, incarnate Krishna. And whithersoever he is driving through all the strife and clash and confusion to whatever goal or Godhead he may be attracting us, it is no doubt of that to some transcendence of all these aspects upon which we have been so firmly insisting. But where, how, with what kind of transcendence, under what conditions, this we have to discover. And to discover it, the first necessity is to see the world as it is, to observe and value rightly his action as it reveals itself at the start and now. Afterwards, the way and the goal will better reveal themselves. We must acknowledge Kurukshetra. We must submit to the law of life by death before we can find our way to the life immortal. We must open our eyes with a less appalled gaze than Arjuna's to the vision of our Lord, of time and death, and cease to deny, hate, or recoil from the universal destroyer.
This is a very important para because 2 chapters he has been saying that war and violence and all these perversities are impossible to, not impossible, but very difficult to eliminate. Now, you may come to the conclusion that, oh, Srenda is saying that these are all natural, let it be there. Srenda is not saying that. He is saying exactly the opposite, that there are conditions where you have to eliminate. There is a higher and a lower. I am not saying that good and bad are equal. Good is certainly better than bad. That's exactly what he's saying here. He's correcting a possible error in our human intelligence. Okay? So, I read each sentence and see why he's so insistent on correcting a wrong impression. You have to be very, very objective, but that doesn't mean to say that you are supporting the bad. All this is not to say that strife and destruction are the alpha and omega of existence. The alpha and omega is very clear. The A to Z, we would have said in English. Okay, the alpha is the first letter of the Greek alphabet, and omega, which actually corresponds to O. Okay, in English, O is not the last letter, but in Greek, omega is the last letter. So the alpha and omega, A to Z. Okay, that means destruction and life and all this is 100% there in the physical world. No, it is not like that. There is good also and there is bad. Okay, there is what is that. This is not to say that strife and destruction are the alpha and omega of existence, that harmony is not greater than war, love more manifest divine than death, or that we must not move towards the replacement of physical force by soul force. Should we very quietly accept and keep quiet about it? He's saying, no, you don't keep quiet about it. You try to go, eliminate the bad. You try to eliminate the lower and go to the higher. Okay. So, this is what he said. of egoism by universality, of death by immortal. God is not only the destroyer, but the friend of creatures. Not only the cosmic trinity, but the transcendent. That means absolutely higher than even the trinity. The terrible Kali is also the loving and beneficent mother. By the way, the word beneficent, okay, uh, it's not beneficent.
Shouldn't.
Yeah, it is beneficent mother. So there is a very interesting line in the mother. Okay, very Kali's hand. I don't remember the exact word, but the idea I remember. Kali's hand is outstretched to strike, but also to help, to succor. That's what he says. Okay, so the very interesting phrase he has in the mother, and this is exactly what he is repeating here. Okay, so the terrible Kali is also the loving and beneficent mother, the Lord of Kurukshetra. Who is the Lord of Kurukshetra? Krishna.
Krishna.
Yeah, he is a divine comrade and charioteer, the attractor of beings. Okay. Incarnate Krishna. Incarnate. Krishna can be without incarnation also. That means he need not be in a body, but he is in a body. He is an avatar. And whithersoever he is driving through all the strife and clash and confusion, to whatever goal or Godhead he may be attracting us, it is, again, this is a typical Srindonian style, no doubt of that. Okay? He is a parenthetical phrase. It is to some transcendence of all these aspects upon which we have been so firmly insisting. You have to rise from the lower to the higher. You recognize the lower, but you don't accept it permanently. That's what he says in Synthesis also. You have to recognize. Don't think that death doesn't exist. Don't think that bad is avoidable. It is something which is not there. It is a permanent thing, relatively permanent in the physical world. You have to recognize it, but not accept it. You have to conquer it. Okay? The difference between recognizing and accepting, that's what he insists on. So it is no doubt of that, to some transcendence of all these aspects upon which we have been so firmly insisting. Who is the we? Again, Srindra himself. Okay. He always uses the word we. He never, very rarely he says I. It should have a ring of egoism. So he doesn't do that. The we is a royal we. Okay, so. But where, how, with what kind of transcendence? Under what conditions? This we have to discover. It's very easy to say that yes, you go from the lower to the higher. But how do you do it? Okay? That you up to each individual to discover for himself. And the discovery can take many, many paths, not only one path. Yoga has not only one path. This is what is misunderstood by in the West. The Christians say, oh, yoga is an Indian concept. We don't accept it. Okay, Christianity doesn't have the idea of yoga, but that's absolutely false. Yoga is nothing, it originated in India, but it is universal. Everybody can practice it. And that is the reason why Modi's idea of introducing yoga into the United Nations is a huge thing. Don't underestimate it. Okay, there is a yoga day now, International Yoga Day. So he has been able to bring that to the attention of humanity. Yoga is not something limited only to India, not at all. Okay? So you have to discover it. In each one can discover it. So he's saying, how? But where? How? With what kind of transcendence? Under what conditions? This we have to discover. And the Gita is telling you exactly how to discover and find out in 18 chapters. It takes 2 hours to read Gita Parayana. When you recite continuously, it takes 2 hours to do. Okay? So that is what Gita is all about. Where, how, and with what kind of transcendence, under what conditions, this you have to discover. This we have to discover. And to discover it, the first necessity is to see the world as it is, to observe and value rightly his action, the divine action, as it reveals itself at the start and now. Afterwards, the way and the goal will better reveal themselves. we must acknowledge Kurukshetra. The so-called limitations of the physical world, the imperfections do exist. Kurukshetra exists. We must submit to the law of life by death before we can find our way to the life immortal. We have to admit, okay? We must open our eyes with a less appalled gaze than Arjuna's, to the vision of our Lord of time and death, Lord of time and death in the physical world, and cease to deny, hate, or recoil from the universal destroyer. The concept of ahimsa, as enunciated by our great Mahatma Gandhi, okay, ahimsa is the ultimate truth. It is not. It is only one aspect of the divine, but when you go up, you can have ahimsa and you can also have violence. Himsa also is possible, provided there is no hate, rancor, anger in it. Destruction can be done in a very calm and quiet manner when it is necessary. That's the end of the chapter Kurukshetra. Now Srimanda applies that whole concept to man and the battle of life. And the time is 8:33. So today we stop here. Okay, and next time we'll start the man and the battle of life. I told you there are 3 chapters on war. It is so important to understand this. Okay, the first one was Kurukshetra, then man and the battle of life, okay? And then the creed of the Aryan fighter. These are the 3 chapters on Kurukshetra. The creed of the Aryan fighter. So we'll take it up next time.
Yes, Rangada.
Yeah.
Merci, Rangada. Bon journée.
Yeah, same to all of you. Okay. Au revoir and have a nice day.
Au revoir. Bonne journée.